Welcome back, guys, to Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations, where last episode, the investigation of the fresh crime scene began with Franziska and Miles having a competition to deduce what took place as we examine the bodies, spotting inconsistencies with a weapon held within the wrong hand of Mr. Faraday in this otherwise neat and tidy room. With the facts somewhat obtained, an argument then began between the students of Von Karma, which now continues as we hear Franziska's next version of events. It was just chance that Mr. Faraday's body fell on top of Mr. L's. Oh, really? The two bodies fell into a pile, which indicates that they attacked each other at the same time. It really doesn't matter in the slightest that they fell in the opposite order. I'm pretty sure it does. I just know that Franziska's explanation isn't absolutely correct. All I have to do is find a hole in her logic. Once I do, I can then present her with the evidence that proves the contradiction. Let's do this then. I mean, we can just press away. Just chance that Mr. Faraday's body fell on top of Mr. L's, really? How about that? Pressing someone's testimony in order to gain some time to think. Hey! Stop knowing me! You're a real one-trick pony, aren't you? It's too bad your trick only works on fools. That wasn't my intent. I simply wish for more detail as to how Mr. Faraday ended up on top of Mr. L. Someone's impatient. I was just about to explain everything to you. So do you think you could hold on for a minute? Yeah! Franziska, I'll make you a deal. I'll hold on if you hold on to that whip of yours. Oh, I'll hold on to it, alright, as I whip you. Ah! Well, now that you've quieted down a bit, I'd like to continue if you don't mind. The two bodies fell into a pile. Hold it! Yes, we saw that. The two fell on top of each other. Don't you find that to be just a bit strange? Not at all. Ah! I can see it in her eyes. She's dead set against me from the bottom of her heart. Miles Edgeworth, once I'm done here, you'll see that there's nothing strange at all. Now then, the two men fell into a pile. Oh great, we're not getting anything out of this. Which indicates that they attacked each other at the same time, which is dumb, because handgun, range, no combustible marks on the body. You know? Unless you threw the knife and then re-grabbed the knife. Sure. Yes, it's definitely it. Hold it! What do you mean by they attacked each other at the same time? I assume Mr. Faraday had the two different weapons in his hands. He made to attack Mr. L while holding both the knife and revolver. And then, after Mr. Faraday fired the gun, Mr. L grabbed the knife as he was falling and stabbed Mr. Faraday. That is how Mr. L wound up on the bottom with Mr. Faraday on top. I mean, you grabbed that knife how damn well. On the way down, man, the speed of a dying man. At close range, that is more than possible. Yes, it's possible, but... well, if you have any other ideas, then show me what you've got. Oh, I will. And to that extent, I'd like you to append what you just said to your testimony. I don't see any point to that, but as you please. That fact indicates that they attacked each other at the same time from close range. Okay, then. We've got a plus statement, so we will give that. It was fired from a few yards away. Objection! That was a very easy one. I'll get my finger up at you. So you believe they killed each other at close range? Sorry, but that's impossible. Just as is written in the crime scene notes, the firing of the handgun did not leave a gunpowder burn on Mr. L's clothes. Therefore, Mr. L and the gun must have been separated by a distance of at least 2 or 3 yards. Ah! Yes, this is by far the biggest contradiction. The two bodies are piled up on each other, yet the gun was fired from a distance. And with there being no chance that Mr. L moved that far after being shot, that leaves only one possible explanation. What a completely foolish line of foolish thought from a thoroughly foolish fool! If I'm not right, then who was it that made the first move with the intent to kill? Huh? Who? The person that attacked first with murderous intent. That would be... probably neither man, because the doubt is that neither, someone manipulated the scene, we know that much. That open window is the interesting thing. Here in this room, contradictions appear no matter which man we claim attacked first. Thus, there can only be one explanation. There was a third person here. It was that third person who killed both Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell, and set their bodies up to make it look like a double murder. That third person is the real culprit. Miles Edgeworth, there's just one thing you're missing. Evidence, correct? Exactly. Everything you've said up until now is nothing but a story played out in your head. However, this is where the real test begins. Can you prove that there was a third person involved in this crime? Of course. If a third person was truly here, that fact would resolve the glaring contradiction. The proof that this has all been a setup made to look like they killed each other. I'll present it and lay bare the final piece of the puzzle that's not yet in place. What is the piece of evidence that proves there's a third person involved? Was there a piece? I mean, we've only got one page worth, so it's something here. So the KG-8 incident is not going to be useful for me at the moment, I think. Though, of course, someone's been around the place that's been brought in by all this. Was in hall on guard duty. Other than the gunshot, didn't hear a sign of a struggle. Didn't see anyone leave. Either, which kind of contradicts what I'm trying to present. The knife and the handgun were things used here, which the handgun could possibly be shown. That proves there's a third person involved because of the lack of knowledge. So, the crime scene notes as well. Doesn't say anything about the hands. Fountain pen used by the left-handed Faraday. Looks like he has a quality nib. Yeah. And then we got the plastic bag. Has Faraday's blood on it. So it's one of these. Can I actually check this? Oh, I can. This blood here is from Mr. Faraday, but there are no other clues to be found. Which begs the question. Do I need to put this bag inside another bag in order to preserve it as evidence? Good thought there, Edgy. I'm not quite sure myself. So it's something to do with evidence that's out of place? That doesn't make sense according to this crime scene. Actually, let's look at that again. Like, for example, if they fall in this position, the blood from the wound of the thing wouldn't be on that bag. No, so why is Mr. Faraday's blood on the bag? It would be on the back of Mr. Rell. It would be soaked into the back of his shirt. The lack of blood in general shows that, like, the crime scene manipulation. I'm quite surprised by that. Just the lack of blood. Which makes it look like the bodies were deposited. But how? How do we go about proving this? So the thing that makes it look really weird, like a manipulated crime scene, I guess, out of everything, that is probably a singular piece of evidence that proves there's a third person involved because it's just separate from everything. I don't actually know. I'm going to bet it's probably this, or maybe this, though that actually was used to prove the handedness, wasn't it? Or something, I don't know. Or was it? See, I forget my own stuff now. Usually we use evidence that's the last used or unused at this point, and there's only 8 pieces. Let's use my badge. I am a prosecutor and you're not. I believe it's that. Take that! Let's start presenting. The gun in Mr. Faraday's hand and the plastic bag with his blood on it. These 2 items point to the presence of a third person. I should have used the gun. I could have still used the gun. How so? Recall Detective Gumshoe's testimony. I was in the hallway the whole time, but I didn't hear a single peep of a struggle. If there wasn't a struggle in this room, then there shouldn't be any plastic bags on the ground. Meaning that someone else must have deliberately scattered them around. Do you not see the possibility in this? Disregarding the gun for the moment. There's a high probability of blood splatter when a knife is used on a person. If the culprit held the knife with a plastic bag around it, they could use the bag to catch any blood splatter from when they withdrew the knife. Really? I mean, wouldn't you have to be holding the bag open and wide as well, which surely would require 2 hands? Plus the hand on the bag to drive the knife forward. So I guess the knife might... I mean, if you're on the bottom of the bag, maybe the bag flanges open? I don't even know. Then by spreading a few more plastic bags around, mixing the bloody one in with them, and arranging the room to make it look like there was a struggle between the two, they were able to conceal their presence. Ah! Though that was a terrible concealment. Why is the bloody bag so separate from the bodies? The lack of blood in this room is like one of the biggest red flags we have. The lack of red on the flag. Looks like we've still got a long way to go in this investigation. Yes.
Objection!
Objection! Who's that? That was such an uninterested objection, it was unreal. What the heck's up with you, pal? Mr. Bad, I advise you to place Detective Gumshoe under arrest. Again? I guess he was the failed guard here, the nearest to the crime. What? What's the meaning of this? Ha! Looks like you're not man enough to discipline your own subordinates. Don't you dare. That detective claims he was there, standing in front of the door the entire time. But I have no good authority that it was all a giant lie. Oh? Monsieur, I ask you please explain that last statement. I'll let his honor explain it himself.
I saw it with my own eyes, I tell you. During the recess, there was a period of time when there was no one in the hallway. What?
See, Mr. Bad? So I ask you, why would a detective who was supposedly doing his job the whole time want to fabricate such a lie?
Gumshoe, did you kill Faraday? No! Of course not, sir.
It would appear that the one who set this whole crime scene up is that detective, which basically renders his testimony a complete lie and wholly invalid. It looks like your perfect logic has just come tumbling down, Miles. Invalid, Franziska.
Ugh. I was in the hallway the whole time, I didn't hear a single peep of a struggle.
Was that statement really a lie?
Detective Gumshoe, you're now a suspect in the murder of 2 men. Now spit out the truth, or so help me. I haven't lied to anyone, sir. Honest. I really was there. I was in the hallway the whole time.
Hold it!
Detective Bad, I ask you please not act without my permission. After all, I am the one that is heading up this investigation, am I not?
Don't tell like you know what's going on, boy.
All I want is for this investigation to run perfectly. Perfection is the only wish of a disciple of Von Karma, after all. Therefore, before you take Detective Gumshoe into custody, I'd like to set the record straight on something.
And what's that?
What should I ask Detective Gumshoe about?
I mean, his motive is, like, why would you kill him? I mean, why he wasn't in the hallway is probably gonna be I went to the toilet, sir. It both surprised me.
I mean, we do need to know if he has any, like, link to them, a motive itself. I suppose the one thing I'd like clarified is Detective Gumshoe's motive for committing this crime.
Motive, huh? Gumshoe, you got a grudge against Faraday or anything? No, sir, not me. Not a single bad thing against Mr. Faraday, sir. Is that a fact?
Objection!
You really have a problem with lying, don't you, Detective Gumshoe?
I'm telling you, I am not lying.
The more unnatural you act, the more suspicious you become, you know. If you want a motive, Edgeworth, I have one for you right here. Could you please share it with us? However, be forewarned that I won't hesitate to object to flights of fancy. But all I'm interested in is the perfect explanation. You're serious, aren't you? Fine. You amuse me, so I'll humor you with a little courtroom practice. I mean, I think finding a motive is good here, and it seems to be the correct line of questioning. Why would he murder these people? That's what we've got to prove as well as part of a court case. It was about a week ago. I saw a detective get chewed out by a livid Faraday from the precinct. He stood there super pale as Mr. Faraday yelled, "That's a salary cut for you nitwit!" A brand new detective suddenly getting his salary cut. That's reason enough for a grudge. Well, how's that for the perfect explanation? Well, we kind of know that he doesn't hold a grudge on that.
You totally misunderstand me, pal. No matter how mad I get, I can never hold a grudge. Quiet. We can't trust anything you say. Sir.
There's nothing wrong with the motive she proposed, per se. But there are some gaps in her logic that need to be filled in. Miss Yew's perfect explanation may not be so perfect at all.
What is Gumshoe's actual motive?
It was about a week ago.
Hold it! Do you have an exact receipt for the time?
A week ago? Then you and Detective Gumshoe were acquaintances. No way! I only met him in person today. And how did you know about Detective Gumshoe? Oh, I've seen him around before. Saw the detective get chewed out by a livid Faraday in front of the precinct.
Hold it!
Mr. Faraday was upset. Yeah. You know what else? Mr. Faraday isn't exactly known to get angry often. But there he was, totally beat red in the face. He's dead right on the floor there. Why are you laughing about his face? He's literally dead on the floor there. And the offending detective just stood there, pale as a ghost, like he was about to die. Just like the face he's making now, right?
I'm completely innocent, I tell ya.
The poor man. It was quite a scene with the detective. Okay. You're a bit everywhere, aren't you? You sit there super pale as Miss Faraday yelled, "That's a salary cut for you, you nitwit!" You just stood there watching this unfold in front of you. Yeah, I have to say it was really enjoyable too. But that's why when I saw Detective Gumshoe earlier, I knew to steer clear of him.
No way! I thought it was because I had something stuck on my face.
But you do!
Huh? What have I got stuck on my face?
Let's start with your eyes, nose, mouth. Oh, and those ridiculous eyebrows. What about the actual, like, thing stuck on his face?
Huh?
Oh man! Messing with your head is just too much fun. Miss Yew, if you don't mind, I'd like to return to your testimony now. Sure, why not? A brand new detective suddenly getting a salary cut. That's reason enough for a grudge.
Hold it!
I don't see why that really is. Isn't that natural around here, seemingly? Well, we know it to be. Got a new detective salary right off the bat like that. I'm not really familiar with the way you guys relate, but is that a common practice?
Ugh. It's me to cut my salary. Didn't you threaten to do that to me earlier too?
I suppose I did. It's only natural to cut a worthless detective's salary down to their actual worth. My father can even fire anyone new or old with a snap of his fingers. Do you think maybe that's reason enough for detectives to hate you people? Yes. But I don't think it's motive for murder.
Well, I guess. They really shouldn't cut people's pay.
Detective Bad, don't tell me Mr. Von Karma cut your salary earlier. Well, how's that for the perfect explanation? I don't think it was perfect, but it's all conjecture, but I don't have anything to really go against it. You'll call your explanation perfect. It is just conjecture. Is it not your liking? Unfortunately for you, it's just not up to my standards. Oh, is there something you want me to clarify in that case? What should I do? Should I raise an objection? Yes. When we're given the option, we generally always do. Though in rare cases, we don't. Right, if you could clear this one thing up for me. How Mr. Faraday was killed? The motive for killing Mr. Rell? Or Faraday and Gumshoe's relation? Yes, okay. But she's probably just going to reply, he was there too? I understand Detective Gumshoe's potential motive for killing Mr. Faraday. However, what about his motive for killing Mr. Rell? His motive for killing Rell? Like I would know. If there was no clear motive for both of the murders, then I doubt this incident would have occurred. Wouldn't you agree? Is there anyone else who might have had a grudge against either of the two men? Or should we look into that ourselves? Oh, in that case, I have absolutely no idea. What? That's impossible. She must know something. Wait. Can you please not glare at me like that? It makes me laugh. I didn't even do anything and you're already laughing away. Well, anyway, the way I see it, as long as he had a motive to kill one of the two, this crime would have played out the way it did anyway. Oh? Would you care to explain your logic? And this time, please try to provide a truly perfect explanation. Perfect this, perfect that. Stop being so uptight. Was that a requisite trait for being a Von Kiana? Miles Edgeworth, I demand that you shut this rude woman up. I wish you'd both be quiet for just 1 second. Oh well, I guess I'll have to explain it to you kids. Right, another one we go. But it's going to be just along the lines of, well, they were both in the room, right? There's no one out there with a motive to kill both Mr. Faraday and Mr. L. All you really have to establish is that someone had a grudge against one of the two men. Mr. L, who happened to be there, became a witness to Mr. Faraday's murder. Therefore, he was killed out of necessity and set up to look that they had killed each other. That does make perfect sense. But there's obviously something wrong here. I wonder if that's really true. Is there no one out there with a grudge against both men? I should take another hard look at the evidence for this morning's case. Okay then. Specifically, this morning's case evidence. Canadian Embassy staff member Manny Cochin found not guilty. That was indeed true. That wasn't the info though. Where was the info? I mean, that's what we were given. So this is obviously it. I thought there was more information here. But it's just saying they were all parts of the same case, weren't they? He's the one overlooking the stuff. One of them was used to kill someone as part of it. So there is someone. Oh, that's Manny Cochin, right? Is that right? My memory is terrible. The second KG-8 incident, as people are calling it, involving an embassy staff member. And the two men who both wound up as suspects in the case. Is there someone else I'm overlooking who is somehow related to them? Well, Edgeworth basically just completely spelled it out for us. It's fine. Just tell me the answer. Motive to kill the men. There's no one out there with a motive to kill both Mr. Faraday and Mr. L. This looks like my statement already. So there is no one else who might have a grudge against both Mr. Faraday and Mr. L. I suppose no one is a bit of a stretch. But I'm pretty sure no one like that was here in this courthouse today. She's lying through her teeth. We just saw someone like that here earlier. Besides, you don't need to prove that the killer had a grudge against both men. Well, you really have to establish that someone had a grudge against one of the two men. See, that's true. But in this case, there is actually someone. So, yeah.
Objection!
Monsieur, I believe there was someone you overlooked in making your statement. Or rather, is it because you'd rather not bring this person up? What do you mean? We are looking for someone with a reason to kill both Mr. Faraday and Mr. L. I can think of at least one person that fits the bill. He was a suspect in the original KG-8 incident, and a member of the Kodopian Embassy staff, Mr. Manny Cochin. That's right, the very man who came to visit you earlier out in the hallway. The man who killed a member of the Kodopian Embassy staff, Mr. L, and the man who was the lead prosecutor of the KG-8 incident, Mr. Faraday. Are you telling me that Mr. Cochin has no reason at all to kill both of these men? Well, I suppose he might have a reason or two.
Yeah, you come for me, pal. Maybe you're not such a bad guy after all. Don't get ahead of yourself. You're still a suspect, make no mistake about that.
The perfect evidence, the perfect testimony. These are the only things I wish to hold.
But I didn't do it!
You will stay under my authority and go investigate Mr. Manicochin for me. And remember, I will not be very forgiving should any of this leak out.
You want to investigate Cochin? You'd just be wasting your time.
And why is that?
Cochin was up in the viewing gallery, watching the trial, or so I was told. Every cop in this place has been keeping an eye on the guy since he arrived.
And the only real suspect we have is still Detective Gumshoe. I suppose so.
No way, come on, Detective Bad. You've got to believe me, sir. I really wasn't that way the whole time, sir. I never took a single step into this room, sir. Okay, then are you saying there was someone else who passed through the hallway? No, there was no one else, sir. Then why should I believe you didn't do it?
That is one incredibly foolish detective. Standing right in front of a crime scene all by himself. Is it as good as a confession of guilt? I have to admit it's a bit strange. Most criminals will fabricate some sort of lie to escape their crimes. And if that detective really wanted to prove that he is innocent, you'd think he would at the very least offer up I spaced out while on duty or the like.
Come on, Gumshoe. Time for your interrogation. Detective Bad.
Miles Edgeworth, I will go on ahead and report this to Papa.
And that, as they say, is that. Right, everyone?
Well, I suppose we should both be getting back to our real jobs now, huh? Before we do, Miss Yew, there is something I'd like to speak with you about. What is it? Oh, let's speak. So, what did you want to ask me about?
The KG-8 incident.
The current case of the murdered Cadopian embassy staff member. I've heard that people have begun calling it the second KG-8 incident. Only among you law enforcement types. And what about it? I'd like for you to tell me everything you know about the original KG-8 incident. I'm afraid I can't help you. I don't know anything beyond what was reported in the papers. No, I believe you know much more, since you are directly tied to the KG-8 incident. I'd appreciate it if you stopped with the false accusations. Racist outbursts are useless from both inside and outside the courtroom, don't you know? I do, but I also know that I do have a leg to stand on here. Think you can stop making that ultra-serious face in front of me? If you could please stop laughing for just 1 second. I'm not going to make any headway like this. I'm just going to have to show her exactly how related to the KG-8 incident she is. Yes, to your laughing, I say, cease you. Miss Yew, I believe that I have proof of your connection to the KG-8 incident. That fine is your proof. Very well then. Why don't you tell me exactly how I'm related to the KG-8 incident? Through the suspect, through the victim, through the lead prosecutor. It was the victim, right? I am right. The victim. Miss Yew. Just gotta check. Just don't want random penalties for being lax. Your connection to the KG-8 incident is through the victim. The victim's name is Yew. You will note that she has the same last name as you. Can you really still tell me with a straight face that you are not related to this case? Sorry, but we're not related. What? Just kidding. You asked that question with such a serious look on your face. Well, I couldn't help but... Miss Yew, I ask you please tell me the truth. Alright, I'll tell you everything I know. Wow, 2 things to learn. As you guessed, the one who reported the smuggling activities of the Amano group was my sister, Yew, as I thought. And she was killed right before she was to testify at the impending trial by Manicochin. But because he was tried once and was acquitted, he gets to live out the rest of his cushy life completely carefree. All because of a lack of evidence. No, I heard that the evidence to convict him did exist. What? I heard it from Mr. Faraday himself after Mr. Cochin's trial was over. Apparently a man in black made off with the most important piece of evidence. Then the evidence had been tampered with. Isn't it just like a criminal to do something like that? The smuggling ring being run out of the Amano group by one of its secretaries. They bailed Mr. Cochin out. Turns out they were in league with each other all along. How big was that smuggling ring? Was it a large operation? I don't really know. Which is why I wanted to become the lead defense. On this case, people are calling the second KG-8 incident. But I haven't learned anything new at all. I was probably expecting too much, I know. You mean you think this case has nothing to do with the smuggling ring? I don't know what to think. Ooh. Why did Mr. Cochin want to meet with you earlier? Actually, he came to watch the trial. Apparently he only found out that I was the defense lawyer on this case after he'd arrived. He figured he should say hi and one other thing. Looks like you couldn't resolve anything this time either. Too bad. What's that supposed to mean? Oh boy, stop with the scared face already. I'm fine, really. I gave him a good slap across the face because that was a taunt. The way she talks about slapping him as she laughs away is kind of creepy. But it's just as Mr. Bad said. He's not related to the double murder. I asked around and people in the gallery claimed that he was in his seat the entire time. Talk about cruel fate. Well, this is about all I know. Sorry. Guess I wasn't much help, huh? That's not true. I'm sorry I made you recall such a painful time in your life. Edgeworth, you really are too serious for your own good. You really need to learn to relax. We wouldn't want you to die of stress, would we? Thank you for the advice, but there's no need to worry. I work in my own way, and I will catch this criminal in my own way as well. You'll see. Look at you with your game face on, ready to go. I'm making no such face. Did you know? Laughter is the best medicine, Edgeworth. Don't you get tired of making such a serious face all the time? Don't you get tired of making such a serious face all the time? Wrong inflection. I'm charged with making sure that all the criminals of this world are found guilty. I have no need for laughter. There you go, making that face again. Oh well. I've got to get going. I still have a few loose ends I need to tie up. Seems like a good time to end an episode. The KG-8 incident and this murder investigation. It is my belief that these two cases are related to each other somehow. Plus that detective, Detective Gumshoe. It's obvious he's lying, even though the lie is hurting his chances. Clearly this case is far from over. But whether or not that detective is the murderer can only be determined once I've completed my perfect investigation. Mr. Von Karma, I swear to uphold your honourable name, or my name is Miles Edgeworth. I thought now was about the time. It did feel like things were wrapping up for our first section. And so, with the jingle playing us out for another episode, we got to find ourselves the real murderer. But Manny Cochin's looking a bit suspicious right now. Someone who got away with it once. But technically, there are probably more than one person with a grudge here. Or at least something against some people in this group. So, let's find out who did it. In the future, of course. Not quite next time. But join me then for more Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations. Bye-bye.